Hello and welcome to Rugby from the Stands. I'm actually recording this one outdoors. I've just dropped my kid off at Mandarin Tuition, and as you can probably guess, I'm not ethnically Chinese, so the kids definitely need the extra lessons. It's quiet for an hour, so I thought I'd get a recording in. And speaking of kids and rugby, I personally had a super early morning today. I coached the local under-5 team called the Dragons. My son, who is 5, plays for them, and my daughter plays for the under-7s. We had a big tournament, and I'm so proud of them. My 2 under-5 teams ended up second and third on the table, and my daughter's under-7 team ended up top of the table. So just a brilliant morning. But guess who we bumped into at a kids' rugby tournament? The all-black World Cup winning hero, Stephen Donald. He's incredibly tall in person, or maybe I'm just quite short. He had to kneel right down with my kids to take a picture with them. He's such a great gent. He's exactly how he is on TV. None of it is an act. What you see is basically what you get. Such a great guy. Thanks for dropping by, Beaver. What a start to the day. But I'm here now. And what a weekend of rugby to talk about. We've already covered the big Glasgow win over the Bulls from the day before and that crazy Northampton victory over Saracens last night. So if you want a breakdown of those, check out that video. But today, we're diving into the rest of the action. The URC delivered some massive results. We saw a brutal Irish derby that went down to the wire. The Stormers continued their perfect run, and Ellis Park hosted an absolute tri-fest that saw an unbeaten record fall. We've also got the details on an incredible 71-point thriller from the Premiership. So let's get straight into it. First, to the game everyone was talking about. The Irish derby at Thomond Park. Munster have edged Connacht 17-15 in an incredibly hard-fought, gritty win. If you just looked at the basic territory and possession stats, you might be confused. But the real story of this match is told in the carries and the defense. Munster absolutely dominated the ball, making 190 carries to Connacht's 112. This forced Connacht to put in a monumental defensive shift, attempting 239 tackles over the 80 minutes, and that pressure eventually told. Connacht missed 31 tackles compared to Munster's 11. Munster also smashed the collisions, racking up 378 post-contact meters to Connacht's 200. But credit to Connacht, they were dangerously clinical. They scored 3 tries, same as Munster. Byron Ralston was fantastic, grabbing a brace, and Paul Boyle scored from a maul right on halftime to give Connacht a 15-12 lead. For Munster, their tries came from an intercept by Diarmid Kilgallen and a brace from their captain, Jack O'Donoghue. In the end, what was the difference? A single conversion. JJ Hanrahan slotted one for Munster, while all 3 of Connacht's conversions were missed. The decisive moment came in the 67th minute when O'Donoghue powered over for his second try to take the 17-15 lead, which Munster defended to the death. It wasn't pretty, but it's a massive win. It keeps Munster unbeaten with 5 wins from 5 and puts them right at the top of the URC table, level with the Stormers. Speaking of the Stormers, they also maintained their perfect start to the season with a 31-16 bonus point win away to Benetton. This was a classic Stormers performance. It wasn't about dominating possession. In fact, Benetton had 52% of the ball, and the tackle counts were almost identical. This game was won on 2 key factors: turnovers and efficiency. First, turnovers. Benetton was sloppy, losing the ball 20 times compared to just 12 for the Stormers. You simply cannot give a team of this quality that many extra possessions. Second, that ruthless efficiency in the red zone. The Stormers entered the Benetton 22-meter 9 times and came away with an average of 3.11 points per visit. Benetton, by contrast, only managed 3 entries all game. This difference is reflected in the final score. 3 tries for the Stormers, only 1 for Benetton. The Stormers controlled the match, leading for 55 of the 80 minutes, and the final 10 minutes were a masterclass in closing out a game. Benetton had 77% of the possession in that final period, but couldn't score a single point. The Stormers, with just 23% of the ball, scored 10 points in that same period to seal the win. That is championship-level rugby. The biggest shock of the URC weekend has to be from Ellis Park, where the Lions handed Ulster their first defeat of the season in a 49-31 thriller. This was a massive statement from the Lions. They seem to be building momentum and have now taken down a top contender. It was an absolute try-fest. 7 tries for the Lions, 5 for Ulster. While possession and territory was split right down the middle, the game was won in 2 areas: discipline and defense. Ulster were ill-disciplined, conceding 11 penalties to the Lions' 7. On defense, this was the killer. Ulster's tackle completion rate was a surprisingly low 78%, missing 29 tackles. The Lions, meanwhile, were much more secure at 89%. The Lions also dominated the collisions, earning 342 post-contact meters to Ulster's 244. They controlled the game, leading for 64 minutes and finished strong with 10 points in the final 10 minutes to lock up a famous victory. A huge win for the Lions and a serious wake-up call for Ulster. Now, we have to touch on the Gallagher Premiership game because it was an absolute classic. Leicester Tigers just, and I mean just, beat Sale Sharks 36-35 at Mattioli Woods, Welford Road. This game was wild. Here's the most incredible stat. Sale never led the match. They were never in front for a single minute, but lost by 1 point. Leicester led for 74 minutes. That's 90% of the game. It was 5 tries apiece. Sale were lethal, averaging 5.8 points every time they got into the Leicester 22 meters. So what was the difference? Set piece. Sale's lineout was rocky, winning only 69% of their own ball. Secondly, discipline. Sale gave away 10 penalties to Leicester's 5 and the boot. Ultimately, it came down to a single penalty goal kicked by Leicester. Sale didn't kick any. Sale scored 7 points in the last 10 minutes to make it a 1-point game, but Leicester held on. An absolute heartbreaker for Sale, but a massive win for the Tigers. Now, we can't do a deep dive on every single match, but let's quickly round up the other scores from this massive weekend of round 5 action. In the URC, Leinster were in dominant form, putting 50 points on Zebre in a 50-26 win. We already mentioned the Glasgow Warriors beating the Bulls 21-12. The Sharks got their first win of the season, beating Scarlets 29-19 in Durban. We even had a draw. The Welsh derby between Dragons and Ospreys finished 19-all, and Cardiff just squeaked past Edinburgh 2019. Over in the Gallagher Premiership, it was a weekend of high scores. We covered Northampton's 43-31 win over the Saracens. Harlequins put on a show at the Stoop, smashing Newcastle 52-14. Exeter got a solid 39-12 win over Gloucester, and in the big derby, Bath took the spoils against Bristol, 40-15. All these round 5 games mark a really interesting point in the season. The URC and the Premiership will now take a break for the Autumn Nations Series. As a long-time Super Rugby fan and a first-time follower of the URC season, this is a fascinating part of the Northern Hemisphere structure. Back south, Super Rugby runs straight through. But here, the club season pauses, so the international window can take center stage. It's a different rhythm, but I think it's brilliant. It means for the next few weeks, all eyes turn to the test matches. And that's a wrap for this episode. What a round of rugby. Now, a question for you guys. Do you actually like me covering the URC? Should I continue with it, or should I not bother? Please share your comments below. I'd love to know what you think. And finally, please like and subscribe. We have 480 subscribers right now, and we'd love to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. It's a big goal, but I think we can do it. I'll need all of your support. Please share this with a rugby nerd and get the word out for me, please. Thanks for tuning in to Rugby from the Stands.